Welcome back to the Brutally Honest podcast. And I'm going to share more things that I learned since living in India with monks. One thing that changed me forever was really touching on my anxiety and my overthinking when I was in India and recognizing that I had it way worse than I even realized. And it was a literal prison in my head that consumed me and stifled me from being in the world and enjoying life. It held me back from enjoying things and really seeing the truth behind what's actually going on, because my anxiety was creating this entire storyline and getting me sucked into a delusion of untruths. If I was with people and I felt insecure, my anxiety would create this whole storyline of how this person doesn't like me or there's something wrong with me, and I would just live by that. I would go throughout my world and life thinking that people are reacting to me, people are staring at me, people are judging me. I had like a magnifying glass on myself. And I didn't know. But until I saw it, life has been so good. And I was so surprised that I would live like I lived like that. When I came to India in the beginning of the journey, I was in a really, really, really bad place. I was getting so stressed out by work, and I was reacting in a bad way from that stress. I was making friends into enemies. People who were really close to me, I was losing them. I was creating drama that wasn't needed, and I was going to make some decisions from that bad place that would not be good for me, and I'm so glad that I did not make those decisions. I was going to move to LA and like start over my life and try to just seek for something better because I couldn't stand where I was at. And I was just going to throw myself in a new city, and yeah, there was a lot. But then I got a call from someone and they told me to go to India, and I just last minute decided to go. And when I was in India, I could barely sit through the processes. Like, we had meditation processes, and I just felt all this enraging anger come up. I had a really hard time on the journey. If it was 4 weeks, no talking and no phone. I originally went just for the first 2 weeks. But for the first week I was there, I actually had a hard time giving up my phone. I would sneak it at night. I went last year and I took it so serious I gave away my phone, but this time I didn't. I was in such a bad place. And I didn't do the no talking part. But then things got harder on the journey. More stuff kept coming up. Like, it wasn't going away, because when I'm there, it's an amplifier. Everything that I was avoiding, I'm facing. And I wanted to keep avoiding. But I reached this breaking point with it all where I'm like, I just need to commit to the journey. And towards the end of the week, I decided to give up my phone and just fully commit. And while I was reaching the end of the second week, so much stuff still came up. Like, I wasn't feeling satisfied. I had so much anger, so much hurt. Things from my dad, like in my past with him and our relationship, were coming up, and I couldn't get myself to resolve it. Like, I saw these people going through the journey, and they were talking about their experiences and how they healed this relationship dynamic with their parent and how they feel better now and they're at ease and they're happy, and I wasn't getting there. I wasn't healing in anything. Every time I would do a meditation process and it would be like, reflect on your past and your parents and think of the anger, I would think of the anger. They'd be like, okay, we'll reflect on this and heal this and that. I wouldn't. I would just stew in the anger, and I was miserable. I like was leaving midway through the processes. I couldn't sit still. I was fighting myself. There was this one time where they were going through directions on how to do the meditations when you're home, because that's where I went wrong last time. Was I did the journey, but I didn't meditate and I didn't sustain the place that I got to, so I lost it all and I spiraled. This time I was experiencing the journey in a completely different place, and I was going way more deeper and touching on darker things, so it was way more intense, but I couldn't focus. And I remember they were talking about the directions and what to do, and I just kept falling asleep. And someone who was there, who was like a really good guide and mentor for me, she kept waking me up. She said, she's like, you gotta listen. And I was pissed at her. I was in the back of the class. I'm like, no, I'm sleeping. Like, for some reason, I was so resilient and resentful, like, just towards this class, because I kept sleeping throughout the whole thing. But this time she woke me up and she's like, no, Brianna, like, wake up. And like, I ignored her and I fell asleep again. And then she, like, tapped me again and she said something. She said, stop fighting with yourself. I know it's hard. And when she said that, I started just bawling, crying. And I decided to listen, and I was fighting with myself, and I felt myself fight with myself. I felt the tiredness in me every time they talked about things to work on or heal and things to come up. I felt myself get sleepy and not want to work through it. So the first 2 weeks were really rough, but I reached a breaking point where I was like, I can't deal with the suffering anymore. I'm ready to heal towards the 3rd week. It was coming up. And that's when I decided to stay longer for the month. And when I was there during the 3rd week, I had a meditation process where, again, I'm sitting there and they're telling the steps of the meditation, but I couldn't even follow the steps because anger, all the stuff was just coming up, and I was doing my own process. And I didn't get the experience that I wanted out of it. I saw everyone get out of it, the process, and they're happy and joyful. So I asked a monk, and I'm like, I can't get myself to move past this. I'm aware of why I'm suffering. I'm aware of my pain from my past, because I had a lot of pain from my past come up. Stuff with my dad, stuff with trauma. And like, the main thing was I was really angry at my dad and I couldn't get past the anger. I'm like, why can't I get past this anger with my dad? And this monk said something that will always stick with me forever. He said, you need the desire to end suffering. So I was like, okay, desire to end suffering. I was like sitting in that all day. Like, I need to really hold a desire to end suffering. So I go to my next process. And again, the same thing happens. All these angry thoughts are coming up and I'm not able to sit still, and I'm like getting sucked into the angry thoughts and I'm not following the process or anything. But then I hear this voice and it says, desire to end suffering. And in that moment, when all these thoughts were coming up, trying to take me out of it, I cling onto that voice and I just like say it out loud in my head. Like, I'm like, desire to end suffering. I need the desire to end suffering. I need a desire to end suffering. So I felt all the thoughts and the anger. And then I heard myself saying, desire to end suffering. I desire to end suffering. I want to dissolve this. I don't know how to get there. I don't know what to do about it. But I know at the end of the day, I want to be free of this. And then from there, things lightened up. I was able to follow the process. It still wasn't easy. Things are coming up. And when every time like anger would try to suck me in, I would just say, I desire to end suffering. I want to be free. And I would follow the process. And the process was talking about how to heal from this anger and how to see it from what it is. And what I would do in the past is, when I was seeing it for what it is, I would just get sucked in my story and I'm like, they screwed me over. How dare they? But this time it's like, no, we're not being victim anymore. We're looking past this. And I got to see the whole situation for what it is and just be with it and see all sides and know that I had sides to me that weren't right. I've also been bad too, and it's not right of me to just hold on to anger towards someone or a situation or question why did this happen to me? That's what kept happening, is I kept going, why me? Like, what's going on? So that was one layer that I dealt with when I was in India, was this battle with myself and wanting to just fall to victimhood of my suffering, or making the decision to just suck it up and be like, no, I'm doing something about this. And as I was getting deeper, I was touching really, really intense aspects of me. And I was seeing like, wow, there's a lot going on here that I really need to be with myself. And it was a way more intense journey for me than it was for others. Some people had it intense like that. But like, I remember I was just in such an amped up mood all the time. And any wrong thing would piss me off. Like, the food would piss me off. Everything was making me angry. And we got towards the end of the whole month-long journey, and I noticed change, but I still was amped up. And there's people who were completely like had breakthroughs and were blissful, and I wasn't. It was the last day of the whole journey, and I started the last day going to a homas. If anyone knows what a homas is, I don't feel like explaining it. It's like a ceremony. I went to health homas in the morning, and it's like where you can get rid of like karmatic things, or I don't know. I don't feel like explaining it, but it's a whole thing. It gets rid of stuff, And it was a health homas, and I did it on mental health, and I did it on anxiety, overthinking, obsessive compulsive disorder, because I just felt like I had something more going on. That's why it was a little harder for me. And so we go through this whole health ceremony, and like I feel a lot going on, and yeah, just some energies going through me whenever. And after it, I felt like a little clear. I felt good. After the ceremony, we go on the bus because we start every day at this campus, and we go on the bus that takes us to the campus, and it takes us to the dining hall where we eat with everyone. And as I'm walking to the dining hall, my head's starting to get wound up again, and I'm like thinking like, oh, I gotta get to the food fast, like I'm not there. I'm not with myself. I'm amped up, and I'm like rushing. I'm in a rush because I always go in a rush. That was like my default mode. I was rushing to get food. I get my food. I like literally cut people in line. I grab my food. I set it down at the table, and I'm like eating my food. And everyone's eating. Everyone's slow, and I'm fast. And I feel that. I feel like how everyone's slow and I'm fast. I'm like, I'm different. Everyone's fast. I'm getting into that zone again, that I kept battling with the whole entire journey. And I'm just letting it suck me in. I'm thinking I'm fast. Everyone's slow. Like, what's wrong with me? I can't think that they're all wrong. And I'm eating my food. And whoop, there's food in my airway, and it's like caught in there, and I try to swallow, but then I immediately stopped because it was closing my airway more, and I had a moment where I realized, oh my god, I'm choking, I might die, and I couldn't breathe. But the funny thing while this was happening, where there's a strong voice in me saying like, you can't breathe, you need help, there's more voices in me thinking like, what's wrong with me, this is so embarrassing, I can't believe I'm choking, oh my god, I can't get help right now, I'm gonna make a whole scene. Like my thoughts were like taking over. They literally were gonna kill me. Like they were like, you can't get help, this is so embarrassing, oh my god, I'm gonna make a scene, I'm choking, this is actually happening, no, this isn't real, this isn't, no. And I was like trying to gaslight myself out of it. But then this deeper voice in me was saying, no, get help, go to that woman there. So I decide to stand up and walk to that woman. I'm like, and as I stand up, one of the people who were a volunteer there, they stand up too, and they say, I have an announcement to make. And of course, I literally paused as I was getting help and choking, like I don't have much time. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. Now everyone will for sure stare at me because this woman's making an announcement in the dining hall and everyone's staring at her. And I'm like, and then my body just amicably moves, and it just taps the woman, and the woman looks over, and she's like, oh, she's choking. And everyone just eyes on me. And then she does like the thing, like boom, boom, boom. And then like food just out of me, and I was like, oh my god, I was like in this like frantic, like chaotic state. Like my thoughts, I didn't think they could get that bad, but they got worse. You'd think they would calm down after a choking situation. No, that's how suffering is. It doesn't care if you're dying, it wants you to die. Like it was like my head was like, what's wrong with you, everyone's staring, this is so embarrassing. And this one woman caught eyes with me, she locked eyes with me, and she was like, breathe. And she was the only person who got my attention because I had a swarm of people around me, but she just was like, hand on my shoulder, breathe. And I was like, and then like I was like, I finally like, shook out of it still, but my head was amped up, and like literally the food on the ground, like I picked it up and like I threw it away, and they were like, no, don't throw that away. And someone was like, you want to go to like the doctor, let's take her to the ER. I'm like, no, I don't want to go to the ER. And I literally like run off, and like I made a whole scene, and I ran off, and then I just found like a tree, and I just started crying for like hours, and my head was still just, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like you're horrible. And it just like wouldn't slow down. I was really recognizing there, like, wow, this is the state of my mind. Like it literally doesn't care if I'm choking. It will convince me that these anxious thoughts are the right decision, and these are the right thoughts, and they're trying to protect me or like save me from judgment. Like that's how strong my criticism on myself was. I finally calmed down, and I talked to someone about what happened, and I'm like, oh, this is so embarrassing. Like, did you hear what happened at lunch? And they're like, at breakfast. And I'm like, no, what happened? And then I was like, I started choking, and then I just started crying. And she's like, oh no, like, and I was just crying, and I really got to reflect all day on like how dark my thoughts can get, and how they can really trick me into thinking that they're the right thoughts, and they can just get so bad, and I can get so sucked into them. But I didn't heal that day. No, it was the last day of this 4-week process I did. I got to reflect, but at the end of the process, again, everyone had this crazy like journey of bliss, and I was just like, not there. and the thoughts were still there, like they were amplified again. Like, what's wrong with you? You did this thing wrong. Like, and I created something out of another situation. I forgot about the choking situation, and I started criticizing myself for another situation and just getting cleaned onto that. Like, I was never enough. So the whole 4-week journey ends, and the monks recommend that I stay longer. So everyone leaves, and I decide to stay longer because I had some stuff to heal. Like, this was not an easy one for me. Like, this wasn't like an overnight. I had a lot of things coming up. And when I'm staying longer, I gotta calm down because there was less people around. Also, before I started the whole journey, there was this talk I had with a monk. And she sat me down before the whole spiritual journey, and she said, let's say you're in the middle of a meditation and you're getting wound up and you're overthinking and you're anxious and you can't focus on the meditation. What do you do? And I'm like, I meditate, duh. And she's like, no, you can't. You're wound up. You can't meditate. And I'm like, okay, I breathe. And she's like, no, you can't even breathe. You're wound up. And I'm like, I don't know. I cry. What the heck do I do? And she's like, you pause. You pause. And now fast forward to 4 weeks after the journey, I started to reflect on that, like, pause thing. Like, what does she mean by pause? And I kept meditating every day while I was there. This was more of like a private experience. And one time when I was meditating, I noticed all my thoughts going da-da-da-da-da-da, and how they would take me out of the meditation process. And I remember thinking to myself, Brianna, you can't be doing this. You have to focus on the meditation process. Like, this is what's happening, is you're not even doing the process because you're sucked in your thoughts. So I was telling myself, okay, Brianna, you have to breathe. You have to, like, focus. So I was able to focus. And I had this realization of my thoughts taking over and how I just need I need to start just breathing and focusing on myself. So the another day goes by and I wake up and I decide to go by the whole day of just focusing and breathing. So I wake up and I'm like, breathe. Okay, thoughts coming up. Breathe, be with yourself. All right, and I wake up, I get ready for the day, and I'm walking to the dining hall. And as I'm walking to the dining hall, thoughts are coming up. I'm like, okay, here's the thoughts. Breathe, focus on yourself. And I'm just walking. I'm like, inhale, exhale. As you walk, you step. As you step, you walk. Inhale, exhale. Oh, thought, breathe. Oh, thought, breathe. Okay, and then I'm like eating food. I'm rushing my food. I'm like, okay, and now I'm gonna be so good at this. I'm gonna go meditate. So then I go and I meditate, and I'm like, you have to hit every mark. You have to breathe so perfectly. You have to inhale when they say inhale. You can't get lost in your thoughts again like you always do. I'm so sick of getting lost in my thoughts. So I'm like, okay, say inhale. I'm like, inhale, Brianna, inhale. So I'm like, inhale. And I was like, okay, the meditation's saying exhale, Brianna. So I'm like, exhale, you have to exhale. So I'm like, exhaling. So I'm doing every single step exactly to a T. And it gets to the point where I start to lose my breath and I can't catch it because I'm putting so much pressure on it, and I got that same feeling of choking again. Like, I was choking on all this pressure, and I lost it during the meditation. I couldn't even finish it because I just got overwhelmed, and I got a panic attack. And I felt that same feeling I felt choking, and how it's just, I'm choking on life. I'm choking on myself. I'm choking on pressure. And I was coughing. I was like, inhale. Oh, and I was like, oh, I can't breathe. I'm like, it's too much pressure. I can't do it. And I just stopped meditating. And for the rest of the day, I was wound up again. And I kind of forgot about that moment I had with meditation. I just kept putting pressure on every little thing I was doing, and anxiety was building up. I was meeting with people, and I was putting pressure on myself. You gotta be nice to people. You gotta do this. And I was snappy with the people. And the day kept going on, and it was getting worse and worse and worse. Like, anxiety just kept coming. There was a point in the day where the police came by, because I'm in a campus in India, and the police come by because we have like tourists there, and they like sometimes like to do like here and there checks. I saw the police come by, build up this whole narrative in my head, like, oh my God, they're gonna inspect me, da 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 da. Like, I'm paranoid, I'm freaking out. Like, I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? I talked to someone there. I'm like, why are the police here? And she's like, oh, I love when the police is here. It means like we're safe. I'm like, yeah. And I'm thinking in my head, oh my God, they're coming for me. And then like throughout the day, they spray this mosquito spray, and it fills up the entire campus I'm on. And I was like, oh my God, there's a fire. Like, I'm getting so paranoid. And I find out, that it's just mosquito spray. It just makes a lot of smoke. And it's the end of the day, and I meet with that same monk after being wound up and anxious and paranoid and so much pressure, and I lose it on her. I'm like crying. I'm like, I did every single thing right. I followed every single step and I just lost it. I'm like, I got so anxious. And she's like, wow, you got yourself caught up in the anxiety. Why weren't you able to just pause and just get out of it? I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm trying so hard with this stupid program. I'm trying so hard with everything. I tried to breathe. I tried to follow every direction right. I finally was on it and I got wound up. I was in anxiety. I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me. And she's like, whoa. First of all, it's okay. Don't do everything so hastily. You're already on the path. Everything you're doing is fine. And so that was the first thing that was like clicking, like, oh my God, I was doing everything so fast, in such a rush. Like, why am I in such a rush to heal? She's like, you're putting so much pressure on yourself. And that's when I realized, like, wow, I put so much pressure on myself. She's like, you are okay. Nothing's happening. And it was just all starting to sink in, like how much pressure I really put on myself. Even when I'm healing, I'm putting all this pressure on myself. And she's like, I want you to really practice slowing down and just pausing and just being okay with whatever comes up. And just from talking to that monk, I was able to relax. Like, there's something about them that they're so gifted at. I was able to calm down and I was able to understand everything I was doing. And I was easing out of those crazy thoughts that were trying to pull me into this world and just being with what was coming up, being with the craziness and the anxiety. And she was saying like how I was so hard on myself. This isn't exactly what she was saying. This is my rewording of it, but this is from what I remember, like, and what I felt in that moment. Like, I got to see in that moment talking to her about I'm really hard on myself. And I get so worked up. And I have to really, really learn to pause. And that's what I really understood what she meant by just pause. So the next day comes and I decide to give it a go again. But this time with no pressure, no anxiety, and just being able to pause. And I see the thoughts come up in the rush. And this time I decide to just be like, it's okay, they're there, and not fight them anymore. And from doing that all day, from deciding this time to breathe and just pause and recognize what's coming up, I felt something finally clear up in me. After all this time, I was genuinely getting the hang of it. And I realized that I get myself so wound up over nothing. And the whole goal of all this is what they've always been saying, but now it was clicking, which is to be in the present moment. Just to be with whatever is arising. Like, it really clicked as much as I heard it. So while it's been a habit of mine to go into anxiety, to wound myself up, to get carried away or overwhelmed, I started to destruct this habit and just recognize, like, when I'm going into anxiety, that it's just a habit. Nothing's happening to me. And I started to feel this freedom and recognize how my anxiety was a prison in my head and how it just took over every single thing. And I got to experience what it was like just to be in the world without thoughts carrying me away and carrying me into a delusion, taking me out of what's really happened, changing and warping my perception. I got to clearly see the world for the first time in my life since India. Like, since that day in India, I got to clearly see everything. And I was like, wow, this world's been so beautiful and so simple this whole entire time. It really isn't that complex. If there's a time where I'm meditating and I'm not able to focus and I just can't do it, I'm tired, it's okay. I just let it be now. That's what I learned, is now I just let it be. And then eventually I'm actually able to do it. And my entire world has changed with this new perception. And I'm still living in it right now. And I'm still adjusting to just being and just pausing. Or if all these things are happening in the real world now that I'm here, I'm making friends, there's a lot of change, especially from being in India, to not get so attached to outcomes and worrying about what to do, what to fix, what I'm doing, and just to be and just to pause. Like, that's been like the greatest power, and that's been like improving like friendships I've had with people, relationship I have had with myself, my experience of life. Like, I got back from India and I have this best friend who's on this journey with me, and she's always been so amazing and accepting of me, but there's been moments where I would just be overly critical or wound up by her or think she's doing something against me or judging me, and I got to just pause when that would come up with her, and I got to see her for who she really was and see that none of that was actually happening. And she was so impressed by how our friendship changed, and she was saying like how it's so much easier to be around me. And there's been so many people who've been saying that exact thing, that it's so much easier to be around me. I was my own greatest enemy. I was the only one deciding to get sucked into things. And when I let myself pause, it was the greatest gift. Like, and I still have the habit to get wound up, but now I can catch it faster. Like, I'm back here and I'm getting wound up over work, and I'm working with people and I'm thinking like, oh my God, they're not doing this task right. Like, they're probably like not caring that much about this, and they don't like want to consider this or that. And then when that would happen, I would just pause and be like, oh, look, there's your head doing it again. There's your head trying to create this whole entire narrative that's unnecessary. I learned something there, that my head creates a layer of unnecessary thinking. And that layer of unnecessary thinking being gone has been the craziest shock on me and on my system. Like, things aren't that exaggerated. Things aren't that intense. Things don't need to be that intense. I don't need to breathe all the time, like intensely. Sometimes I can just breathe. I'm not always sharp. I'm not always the best version of myself, and that's okay. They're not always the best version of their self, and that's okay. And like, my need for control is like going away. There's nothing to control, and I can just be in this world and just flow. And I'm still every single day just learning just to flow and just be with it and stop getting wound up and like thinking I have to survive. Like, I was in survival mode, thinking I had to work hard, thinking I had to do something, I had to change something, there's something about me that's wrong, I need to fix this, I need to do that. You know how overwhelming it is to live like that? You know how hard it is? Like, I didn't realize how hard it was on myself. Like, what I was doing to myself. I was tearing myself apart. I was like having such a high level of cortisol. Like, I was destroying myself, thinking I always had to fix things. And now I don't. And I'm enjoying life so much more. I'm finding hobbies that are actually my hobbies. And I'm learning about myself. I'm letting myself get room to like be who I am, and finding out hobbies that I like. Like, I like to go and do workout classes. I did an aerobics yoga class today, and I just let go, and I was in a new environment, and I didn't try to control everything, and I just enjoyed it, and I accepted that I wasn't going to be perfect in that moment at this new thing. And I really enjoyed trying something new. I'm like able to be out in the world again and be around people in social settings, and just be okay with the moment and what's happening, and not try to control a social setting or get social anxiety or anything. And it's just been one of the greatest gifts. So yeah,